The velvet box sat in our kitchen trash like a discarded dream, coffee grounds staining its burgundy surface. I stared at it, my hands trembling as Maren's voice echoed from the bedroom. I don't wear cheap junk, Brad. I deserve designer pieces, not whatever Felix picked up at some discount store. My name is Felix Rourke, and I'm a mechanical engineer who spent 3 months' salary on that cheap junk. The vintage necklace cost me $5,000, more than most people spend on their cars, but apparently, my wife of 7 years had different standards. I fished the box from the garbage, wiping away the coffee grounds with a paper towel. The emerald pendant still gleamed despite its rough treatment. Through our bedroom door, I could hear Maren giggling at something Brad said on the phone. Brad. Her cousin, who'd been visiting way too often lately. You should see the look on his face when he gives me these pathetic gifts, Maren continued, her voice carrying that cruel edge I'd been hearing more often. Like a puppy expecting praise. My phone buzzed. A text from Brad. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Wear something pretty. Something pretty. Not the necklace I'd given her for our anniversary last week. I set up my laptop on the kitchen counter, fingers flying across the keyboard. Banking apps, security cameras, phone records. Being an engineer has its advantages. Within 20 minutes, I'd installed monitoring software that would alert me to any unusual activity on our accounts or security system. The bedroom went quiet. Maren emerged, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the late hour. Felix? What are you doing up? I held up the velvet box. Found this in the trash. Thought you might want it back. Her face went pale. It must have fallen in by accident. Right, along with the appraisal receipt from Goldman's vintage jewelry. I placed the crumpled paper on the counter. Her signature was clearly visible at the bottom, dated 3 days after I'd given her the necklace. You had it appraised behind my back, Maren. Why? She crossed her arms, defensive. I wanted to know its value for insurance purposes. Insurance. I nodded slowly. That's why you told the appraiser you were considering selling it? Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. How did you? Mr. Goldman called me, thought I should know my wife was trying to sell her anniversary gift. I stood up, tucking the necklace into my pocket. Fair enough, Maren. Wouldn't want you caught wearing something cheap. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with an alert. Maren had attempted to transfer $1,500 from our joint savings account. The security app I'd installed immediately sent me a video feed from our living room camera. There was Brad, lounging on our couch like he owned the place. He was wearing the watch I'd bought Maren for Christmas, a vintage Rolex that had cost me nearly as much as the necklace. I saved the video, screenshot the bank transfer attempt, and drove home early from work. Brad's silver BMW sat in my parking spot. I took photos of the license plate, then applied a cheater parking only sticker to his windshield, a gag gift from my gym buddy Tanner that suddenly seemed perfect. Inside, I found them in the kitchen, sharing coffee from my favorite mug. Felix! Maren jumped up, spilling coffee on her white blouse. You're home early. Apparently not early enough. I held up my phone, showing them the bank alert. Care to explain why you're trying to drain our savings, Maren? Brad stood up, puffing out his chest. Now look here, Felix. Sit down, Brad. This doesn't concern you. I kept my eyes on Maren. Unless you're the reason she needs the money? It's not what you think, Maren stammered. Really? Because I think my wife is having an affair with her cousin and trying to steal from me to fund it. I pulled out the printed screenshots, bank records, security footage, text messages I'd recovered from our shared cloud account. Want to see the evidence? Maren's face crumpled. Brad looked like he wanted to run. I've packed your bags, I continued, pointing to the suitcases by the door. Both sets. Brad, your car needs to move anyway. You're in my spot. You can't just throw us out, Brad protested. Watch me. I opened the front door. The condo's in my name, Brad. Check the deed. As they gathered their things, I couldn't resist one final gesture. I took the key to Brad's BMW. Maren had left it on the counter and dragged it along the driver's side door. The metallic screech was deeply satisfying. Mrs. Decker from across the hall peeked out, her phone already recording. Perfect. The next morning, I listed our condo for sale online, making sure to tag Maren's Instagram handle in the post. Within hours, her followers were buzzing with questions about why her dream home was suddenly on the market. I returned to Goldman's vintage jewelry, where Mr. Goldman greeted me with a knowing smile. Mr. Rourke, I wondered when you'd be back. Tell me about Maren's visit, Mr. Goldman. The whole story. The elderly dealer adjusted his glasses. She brought that young man with her, claimed the necklace was a family heirloom she needed to sell for medical expenses. When I told her its true value, her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. 5,000? More like 8, actually. It's a genuine Victorian piece. Your wife seemed disappointed when I explained the consignment process would take time. He paused. The young man suggested she might find a faster buyer elsewhere. My jaw clenched. Did they say where? No, but I got the impression this wasn't their first stop. I thanked Mr. Goldman and drove to Maren's design studio downtown. Through the window, I could see her conducting a live stream, trying to maintain her influencer persona despite the chaos I'd unleashed. Her audience was smaller than usual. Word travels fast in the social media world. I pushed through the door just as she was showing off a new designer bracelet. Felix, she tried to smile for the camera. Everyone, this is my husband. The one you've been stealing from. I dropped the bank records and appraisal documents on her desk, right in front of the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the real Maren Rourke. She sells her anniversary gifts behind her husband's back and drains joint accounts to fund her affair. The chat exploded with shocked emojis and comments. Maren's face went white. This is a private matter, she hissed, reaching for her phone to end the stream. Nothing's private when you broadcast your life for money, sweetheart. I picked up the designer bracelet, a cheap knockoff I recognized from a discount store. Just like this isn't really Cartier, is it? Brad appeared from the back room, probably where he'd been hiding during the live stream. You need to leave, Felix. Or what? I stepped closer to him. You'll call the police? Tell them how you've been trespassing in my home and helping my wife commit theft? He swung at me. I ducked easily. Years of boxing at Tanner's gym had taught me to read telegraphed punches. Brad stumbled, knocking over a display of Maren's handcrafted jewelry. The live stream was still running, capturing everything. Careful, Brad, I said, stepping over the scattered fake gems. You might break something valuable. Oh, wait, there's nothing valuable here. That evening, my phone buzzed with another alert. This time, the security footage showed Brad in my garage, going through my gym bag. He spat on my boxing gloves and threw my equipment around like a petulant child. Big mistake, I muttered, saving the video. I'd had enough of playing defense. Time to go on the attack. Maren's social media accounts were surprisingly easy to access. She used the same password for everything, a combination of her birthday and our wedding date. Ironic, considering she'd forgotten both occasions this year. I crafted a post in her voice, complete with her usual hashtags and emoji style. I need to come clean about something. I've been living a lie, wearing fake jewelry and pretending it's designer. I cheated on my husband and tried to steal from him to fund my fake lifestyle. I'm sorry to everyone I've deceived. Honesty. Accountability. Sorry, not sorry. The post went live at 2 a.m. when her audience was most active. By morning, it had thousands of shares and comments. Maren called me screaming, "You hacked my accounts." "Prove it," I said calmly. "Maybe you just had a moment of conscience. I'm going to sue you for everything you're worth." With what money? Your accounts are frozen pending our separation, remember? And good luck finding a lawyer who'll work for fake jewelry. I hung up and drove to Brad's loft in the warehouse district. His BMW was parked outside, the keyed door now covered with duct tape. I waited in the shadows of the parking garage, my phone ready to record. When Brad emerged from the elevator, I stepped into the light. "We need to talk." He tried to run. I grabbed his arm, spinning him around. "You destroyed my property, Brad. My gym equipment, my personal belongings." I showed him the security footage on my phone. "That's going to cost you." "I don't owe you anything." "Wrong answer." I slammed my palm against his car hood, denting it slightly. "You owe me for the gym bag, the equipment, and the emotional distress of watching my wife's lover trash my stuff." I pulled out a garbage bag filled with Maren's fake jewelry, the pieces she'd left behind in her rush to move out. "Here's your girlfriend's real collection," I said, dumping the contents onto his car. "Costume jewelry from discount stores just like your relationship. Cheap, fake, and worthless." Brad tried to push me away. I grabbed his wrist and twisted. Not enough to hurt him seriously, but enough to make my point. "Touch me again, and next time it won't be your car that gets damaged." The parking garage's security camera captured everything, its red light blinking in the corner. I looked directly at it and smiled. 3 days later, Tanner called with intel. "Your wife's at the Riverside Art Expo tonight. Heard she's trying to rebuild her reputation with some charity auction thing." Perfect. I called Mr. Goldman. "I need a favor." "Anything for a good customer?" "Bring the necklace to the Art Expo tonight and bring its new owner." The expo was in full swing when I arrived, the gallery buzzing with pretentious conversation and overpriced wine. Maren stood near the auction display, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. She was giving an interview to a local blogger, spinning a story about overcoming personal challenges and finding authentic self-expression through art. I waited until she was mid-sentence, then approached the microphone they'd set up for the evening's presentations. "Excuse me," I said, tapping the mic. "I'd like to share a story about authenticity." Maren's eyes went wide. "Felix? Don't. This is my wife, Felix Rourke. She's an expert on authenticity." I pulled out my phone, connecting it to the gallery's projection system, a trick I'd learned from setting up presentations at work. The screen lit up with bank records, text messages, and security footage. "Here's Maren attempting to steal from our joint account," I narrated as the crowd gathered. "Here she is with her lover, wearing the watch I bought her for Christmas. And here's her lover destroying my personal property in our garage." Gasps echoed through the gallery. Phones came out, recording everything. "But the real masterpiece," I continued, "is this appraisal document." Maren took her anniversary gift, a genuine Victorian necklace worth $8,000, and tried to sell it behind my back. Mr. Goldman appeared beside me, carrying a velvet display case. "The necklace found a new home, with someone who appreciates authentic vintage pieces." He opened the case, revealing the emerald pendant. A woman I didn't recognize stepped forward. Young, elegant, everything Maren pretended to be. "I'm Jessica Chen, and I bought this beautiful piece from Mr. Goldman's shop. When he told me the story behind it, I knew I had to be here tonight." Maren tried to run, but Brad stepped in front of her, blocking her path. "This is your fault," he shouted. "You said he'd never find out." "My fault?" Maren's voice rose to a shriek. "You're the one who said we should take his money." The crowd pressed closer, phones recording their argument. "Actually," I interrupted, pulling out one final document, "there's something else you both should know." I handed Maren a folder. "Brad's been planning to disappear with your money all along. These are transfer records showing him moving funds to an account in the Cayman Islands. And here's a text thread between him and your best friend Lisa, planning to run away together once he'd drained your accounts." Maren's face went ashen as she read. "Lisa? But she's my best friend?" "Yeah, well, Brad's been her cousin too, apparently." Brad tried to push through the crowd, but several people blocked his way. You can't prove anything. I don't have to. The bank records speak for themselves. I gestured to the projection screen, now showing a series of financial transactions. You've been stealing from Maren just like she was stealing from me. Congratulations. You're both thieves. The gallery erupted in chaos. Maren collapsed into a chair, clutching the evidence of Brad's betrayal. Brad was surrounded by angry investors who'd apparently lost money in his various schemes. I walked toward the exit, the crowd parting before me. At the door, I turned back one last time. Some people call it revenge, I said, my voice carrying across the silent gallery. I call it spring cleaning, and tonight the trash finally took itself out. The last thing I saw was Maren, alone and abandoned, surrounded by the wreckage of her fake life, while Brad was being escorted out by security, his schemes finally exposed. I stepped into the cool night air, breathing deeply for the first time in months. Behind me, the gallery buzzed with the aftermath of their destruction, but I didn't look back. Justice, I'd learned, doesn't always come from the courts. Sometimes it comes from simply letting people show the world who they really are. The city stretched out before me, full of possibilities and new beginnings.